everybody. My name is Burky. Welcome back to the long overdue Paperstac Podcast. I am here with the Networthy team, Pei and Nino, and they're here to teach us some really cool things about how to buy mortgage notes and see the future. It's basically a crystal ball with a spreadsheet. Great to have you. They've flown back into Orlando, and not to see the mouse, they came to see the Paperstac teams. That's right.
This mouse.
Yeah, so we've been having a good time, going out to dinners and stuff, and showing them around all the Orlando spots for good food. And so, that's pretty much the gist of it. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Brett, good to be back.
Yeah.
We feel like we've been in Orlando a lot of times these last few months. Everything seems to be in Orlando.
That's right.
Which is nice. So
which is good for me because I don't have to go anywhere.
Well, today what we're going to do is, so for people who are listening or watching this episode, maybe we can reference in show notes the previous episode that we did where Pei and I talked about the income stacking model. We kind of did it on a whiteboard showing, okay, if you don't want to buy notes yourself, what are some ways you can go buy notes passively? And that's kind of where Networthy comes in with the education, but also with the fun that we have, kind of making it as turnkey as possible when it comes to buying notes. But the number one question that we typically get is, all right, that's great, but how durable is it? Or how does this compare to my 401k or my traditional investing? And hopefully we can answer those questions today and potentially blow people's minds. And you haven't fully seen this Excel sheet, so we're hoping to blow your mind. I know we've been hammering your head for the last 8 hours.
Oh man.
So Pei, you ready?
Yeah, because when we were here last time, we just did a mock-up on a whiteboard, which is super fun. We love that, but this is beyond what we showed last time. So this is the part 2.
That's the part I like about this. I'm looking forward to this because even last time when you guys came, I left with a giant list of things to do, and it was nice to know, knowing that if I keep buying notes and doing them in a certain manner, that there is a time when I have a lot of passive income. So it's also nice to know that, like I said, this isn't a real crystal ball, but as long as you follow the same system, it's kind of hard to kind of mess it up. So yeah, I'll let you guys go ahead and jump into it.
Yep, so we're going to dive into, let's go over Pei what the first slide on this Excel sheet is, and it's going to be talking about the traditional model of being the accumulator, assuming you haven't gone into notes or you're just a traditional worker saving money. Let's go over this.
Right. So typically investors come to us and they're looking to invest their money, but they're still in the accumulation mindset, and our job is to educate them why we have a product that's set up so different than the typical mutual fund or syndication fund. So most people are taught this way. You have a good job, you have your expenses, but every month you're supposed to run at a surplus. Now, if you have a $2,000 per month surplus a month, which is your cash flow, if you invest that into a S&P 500 mutual fund, and I'm going to be very, very generous here. That fund is making a consistent 12% return and never have a down year. And you compound that, annually. What do you have after 20 years? Right? This is your 401k IRA type situation. And if you were to be a good saver and you invest into something that magically never goes down in the market like this, what you actually get, if you just follow that calculation, is $1.8 million plus change of an asset sitting there. Now, if you follow the Monte Carlo retirement calculation and whatnot, now you can take 4% of that on an annual basis, which is about $60,000, and you can now presumably live off of that amount. Now, if you calculate how much personal cash flow that went into the system, is $480,000, right? That's $2,000 times the 20 years that you do that, right? Not counting any tax or inflation issues, just straight out like this, right? So that's what we all have been taught, and we just hope and pray that 12% average rate of return is true.
All right.
Okay, so the way we design our product with Networthy is we actually are, instead of doing it this way, we follow the income stacking strategy. And last time we kind of talked about it, how you can actually accelerate this process. But I wanted to show people like, okay, well, what does that, I understand the 3-year, but what does that look like 20 years from now? What am I going to do? What am I going to get compared to this traditional method? right? So that's where
Yeah.
I want to switch.
Well, I mean, and last time we did talk about the 3 years, and we kind of ended it there, almost like a TBD, which is it's been a long time, 6 months, 7 months since we've done that. But I do want to caveat a couple of things here. So Pei mentioned in the beginning, 12% average rate of return, which is that's nice. 12% in S&P 500, man, that's very nice. But keep in mind, right? If the S&P 500 drops 20% 1 year, which it very well has, let's assume you've put in 100K at this point, you're now down to 80%. Even if every year thereafter you're making 12%, now you're making 12% on 80,000. It's going to take years to recoup back to your initial principal. So one down year, that's even returning 8% is going to throw all of these numbers off. This is like best of best cases scenario. Like that's the first thing that I wanted to point out. And then the second thing was, you could then take it a step further and say, you know, I'm not going to do it the accumulator mindset with the S&P 500. I want to go on Paperstac and I want to buy notes. You can very well do that. You can say, you know what, I want to buy notes, and at the end of 1 year, you'll have $24,000. That can get you in the note space. You can buy a note, maybe beat the 12%, maybe not beat the 12%. It's going to be amortized, so that will, you know, change the numbers a little bit. But what we're trying to get at with the cash flow stacking is going into the amortized notes plus buying notes on Paperstac, but Networthy will kind of do it for you, where you don't have to do the research on the Paperstac until you're ready. You can take your time learning the product, but at the same time still get the returns in the meantime from a company like Networthy. That's kind of what we're aiming to build out. But we want to show the longevity of it. This is the fun stuff. So Pei, bring us.
So with the income stacking strategy, one of the biggest change of mindset is, okay, we're not going to just accumulate that wealth anymore. Also, we want to add in the supercharger to this system, which is the leverage piece. I want to, instead of waiting, you were saying like waiting a whole year till you have enough built up, then get into the notes. I want to do this day one. How do I do that? I use a leverage. I use somebody else's money. So in this spreadsheet, we show someone, we're kind of going back to January 1st, right, of this year as a starting point. They go out and they leverage $10,000 from their line of credit. That could be from your HELOC, from your line of credate, or from your IBC policy.
Or your all-in-one, as you're now familiar with,
right? Doesn't matter. You borrowed that money, okay? Or some people are like, I already have cash sitting there. If you want to use your cash and you just cannot get over the fact that you have to borrow, fine. Start with your cash, then you'll see why you eventually will need to leverage. But you borrow $10,000 from somewhere, and you put that into a product that pays 3 years of monthly payment, that's including principal and interest, an amortized note, right? So besides Networthy, there are other companies that offers this product, so we're not the only one in this game. Like you could do it with like Prosper, you could do it with Ground Floor. There's other companies out there, but we just happen to have designed our product specifically for this purpose. So in this example, I even just kind of round it down a little bit, so it's an even number, so that we can see it's an easier calculation. So your first stack, you started with $10,000. You invest in something that pays monthly return of $330 per month back for 36 payments. The very next month, on the first of the month, you start to get your first payment. Now remember that $2,000 cash flow that we were putting into a savings account anyways? We're going to redirect that money. We're going to activate that $2,000 plus the passive income we're receiving from our first note investment, and we're going to use that to pay off the $10,000. If you do that, your line of credit balance reduced to $7,670. Makes sense, right? And so nothing to it. This doesn't take time. It's just 5 minutes. You receive the money, you add it with your cash flow, you pay off your, you make a payment towards your line of credit. The very next month, you get your second payment, and you do the same thing until you pay off your first stack in about 4.5 months. What would you do after you pay off your first stack?
Well, I'm gonna do it again.
That's right. Right? So now you will, this is about June-ish, right? You will then re-leverage the same line of credit, that same $10,000, and you will now do your stack 2. right? Another 3-year amortized note product that pays you $330 a month coming in. Now you have $660 of passive income coming in plus your original $2,000, and you will just use that to pay off that $10,000. And the second time you do it, because of the additional cash flow from the second investment, is it still going to take 5 months to pay off?
Nope.
Right? It's mathematically, this is all just math, right? Mathematically, it's going to be faster. You'll probably pay this off in about 4 months or so. So June, you do your second stack, and then in October, your $10,000 is paid back in full. What do?
Run it back. One more time.
You stack that, recycle that money back out again. And now you're in January, and you're done, your next one. So in 1 year, if you just stop right now, in 1 year's time, I have re-leveraged $10,000 4 times out there. That's not $40,000 that I made. That's $40,000 of other people's money that I put out to work for me. Right? So if we accelerate this process a little bit and take a look at, well, what happens after 5 years? Right? If you were to just continue with this process, in 10 years.
Well, before we see that, I want to make a point at row 17 here. So eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to continue to go at 10,000. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you're paying that stack down in a month or in 2 months. And at that point, you want to increase your stack size. So as you can see here, April 1st, so on our next stack after 1 year, we're going up to 15,000.
That's right.
Now that number is a 1.5x multiplier of what your current stack is. But you're seeing we're going up now. What happens when we do our next stack? Well, now instead of getting 330, now we're getting 493. So again, we take that plus the 3 stacks of 330 we've already done, plus our $2,000 cash flow, and of course that's going to pay down that $15,000. So we're just going to keep on doing that. And the reason why we're now going to go to year 5 is only because, as you can see, it's not boring. As Pei said, it's just math. So we're going to continue to just scroll down. As you can see, the top row, you're seeing all the stacks. You're seeing how it all works. Eventually you get to a point where you just keep doing this, right?
I think it's turnkey.
Row 62. Yeah. Why is this important?
Because that's a 5-year mark, right? I want to show some benchmarks along the way, right? If you were to just follow the system for 5 years, you would have completed or done, I believe, 18 stacks. Okay, and you will be actually stacking you started at 10,000, but
now you're at 50.
At stack 18, you're stacking at $50,625. That's per stack that you're putting into either with our company or with Paperstac directly.
Because at this point, presumably, you're doing 50K stacks. So hopefully you would have taken the academy right now and you would have learned how to do it, because in reality you could get a better return if you're knowing how to buy notes correctly on your own. So even if you wanted to say, you know what, this is when I want to start dipping my toes into buying notes on my own. All right, I have 50K. I can split that. I can do 25K into Networthy or a do it for you fund, but the other 25K, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to learn how to buy a note, and you're going to practice, you're going to go on the platform, you're going to buy one, and then you're going to realize, hey, this is great. And as you continue to do every single stack, which in this case it's every 4 months, you can do this. And I mean, Brett, correct us if I'm wrong, but the more you buy notes, the better you get at it, right?
Yeah, like anything else.
Yep.
A couple times around the track, can
That's right.
start to buy some better stuff, but just doing one is better than doing none. You just gotta do it. Know the little nuances that you won't have to deal with a fund. You won't have to deal with servicing.
Sure.
And you won't have to do any due diligence. So
sure.
That's on Networthy to do the due diligence. But it is.
And you're diversifying.
You're diversifying, and also it's a skill set that, you should definitely know how to do. It's nice to know what they're doing exactly, and when you buy one your own.
Sure.
Yeah. So the focus here for us to show this is to show you what's possible, right? In 5 years' time, you have already built up quite a large size of asset. And actually, if we can go back later to see what the monthly cash flow coming in is at, right? Because at any time, if you go back here, you're getting, in 10 years, you're Actually, this is 5 years.
This is 5 years.
This is 5 years, Mark. You're getting $11,000 and change of passive income. Now take out your 2,000, right?
Sure,
2,000
sure.
that you're getting close to $10,000 per month of passive income, right? So that's not something to sneeze at, right? So
in 5 years.
Yeah.
And again, this is assuming $2,000 of personal cash flow. This is assuming nothing changes on the income side and nothing changes on the expenses side.
Right.
But what if you pay off your car, or what if most people get a raise every few years now?
Right.
All of these metrics will completely change these calculations. And if you can control the input and improve the input and reduce the output, or do one of the two, you're just speeding up the time of this. Or maybe your cash flow isn't $2,000 a month, maybe your cash flow is $5,000 a month. Well, now you're starting at a higher point, so naturally, as we're going to get into the fun stuff right now, you'll see how everything will speed up the timeline. So you want to go to year 10?
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
since we're already...
And a lot of people is going to be like, oh, but you're not charging yourself. There's no interest charge. Yes, for the purpose of this illustration, I'm assuming there's no interest charge on the borrow. But even if you do add in a 10% a year line of credit interest from wherever you're leveraging, just think about, I'm paying off that line of credit so fast that even with a high interest rate line of credit that I have to pay, it really won't really like delay things too much, or
Correct.
it won't reduce my total income too much, because we're using the velocity banking method where we're paying off our leverage on a monthly basis. So the cost of the interest is nominal. So
if you're thinking, if you're borrowing at 10% from your line of credit and you're thinking, well, I got to pay 10% on everything I'm borrowing. No, you're not, because you're paying off your stack in under 4 months, under 5 months at least. And then if you're doing it efficiently, anytime you get a couple $1,000s, you're putting it to pay down your stack. You're putting it to right to your line of credit, whether it's your all-in-one, whatever IBC policy. Every time you pay it in, you're reducing the balance. Therefore, you're reducing the interest paid on that balance. So not only are you reducing the time in the form of months, but you're reducing the amount also. So your effective cost of interest is significantly lower than what your 10% quote unquote is for your rate. So
that's what everyone always when someone says 10%, people always kind of somehow think it's a month thing.
No.
Really?
Yeah,
So I wish I was making 10% a month.
But they think 10%. But the thing is, when you think about it, like over a year's time, when you do it this way, you just take that and you divide it by however many months it took you to pay off, and that's your actual interest rate.
Correct.
Yeah. And every month the balance is being reduced because we're making payments constantly to it. So your effective interest is going to be pretty low. But I just wanted to throw it out there because that's one of the very common...
Sure. And rightfully so. I mean, that's the question I think we all had. But you'll see now, 10 years in, we're actually going to go backwards. Let's look at our total income that we're getting. We're getting $36,378, so $36,000. Again, let's subtract our $2,000 of personal cash flow contribution. $34,000. And what have you done in those 10 years? We're assuming you're doing the bare minimum, rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Every time you're getting to the point where you pay down your stack in under 3 months, you're just increasing by 1.5 times. So let's look at what our...
And I measure everything by teacher pay because that was my previous life. $34,000 a month of passive income, assuming at this point I want to start enjoying my life. It's been 10 years. I deserve it. I want to start taking 10% off of that passive income, so $3,400. I want to take the $3,400. I want to quit my job and enjoy my life. Could I not do that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? I would just reinvest the rest. I will sacrifice my future income, but if the need for me to leave my job is, sooner than later, that just gives me the option, right?
Well, we'll get into also the kind of the breakdown of how much we're taking and what that does, because it all comes down to age and there's other variables. But before we kind of get into that big stuff, 10 years in right now, so we're currently on stack 31. I mean, that's crazy. 31 stacks. It goes by faster. I mean, I can speak from experience here. I've currently done about 10. I'm on my 11 stack pay. What are you on?
I'm on 26.
26. I mean,
but I've been in a little bit longer.
Right. You've been in, no, of course, yes. You've been in double the time that I have, but your stack size was also smaller starting out than the projections that we're doing. Mine was larger than the projections starting out. But you see, 26 in, I'm about 11 in. Brett, you're probably a good 5, 6 in, roughly.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Now we're on stack 31. It's not that far away, but let's look at that number. $170,000. We're going to round up. $171,000 is your stack. Now you're thinking, that's a lot of money to invest. But remember, it's not even your money.
Right.
So now, presumably, again, you're 5 years ahead of where you were. You've learned how to purchase notes. You're even more efficient at it. And again, you can do a split. And we can even talk about purchasing permanent assets at this point. I know this is what you like to do when we get to the 10-year mark.
Yes, absolutely. Right. At this point, you actually have the flexibility now to add in, something that pays out longer than 3 years. Because right now, the whole projection shows it's just someone who's doing all 3-year notes for the whole entire duration of 20 years. Right. That's not realistic. It's just one example. But at this point, if I'm stacking at $170,000 per stack, I'm doing that 4 times a year, I will probably want to get into something that pays out longer term to kind of shore up my system even more, and that I don't have stuff falling off or expiring so quickly, right? So maybe I can buy out some, my daughter's car note, right? Maybe she has a car note, instead of having her financing down in the Hyundai, whatever, car finance, I can be the bank for her, and I can be the bank for her through my stacks.
Yeah, that's
right.
Recapturing that interest,
Exactly.
which grows your stacks, and what happens later on down the road? All those stacks are going to go to her eventually, right?
Exactly.
If she earns it,
right? And it incentivizes her to make the payments, right? Because if she knows that down the road, this is what she's going to be taking over to run, then yeah, she's going to make the payments, right? But there's just so many things you could get in if you really love, turnkey properties, or if you really love, even crypto. If you want to get into gold, silver, whatever, this is when you can take some of that into buy the permanent assets. And even if it doesn't cash flow, right, you can still get into those things and just reinvest the rest and keep the system going. It's fantastic.
So let's get to the fun stuff, like the truly fun stuff, because now we're going to get to the 20-year mark.
Yeah.
And this
is all
is crazy.
3-year notes.
Yeah, this is all 3-year notes. This is, I think maybe Pei and I might differ on this. This is kind of my strategy, because I like to set it and forget it. Yeah, permanent assets are great, but I mean, when you see this number right now, $144,000 of income a month. Okay, sorry, take away your $2,000. Your mere $2,000 at this point, right? You're talking about $142,000 that you're getting per month. That's over $1 million a year by just following this method. Now, we want to take 10%. Let's take 10% off of it, because we want to go live our life now. $14,000.
Remember when your neighbor who was saving that $2,000 a month into the S&P 500?
Oh yeah, what was their number again? Let's check. I forgot. Oh, their total portfolio was 1.8 million. And what did you say the Monte Carlo rule was? How much?
4% out of this thing, about $60,000, right? That you can live off of.
A year.
Yeah, a year. Not a month. A year.
That's $5,000
per month.
Mm-hmm. So do you want $5,000 or do you want $14,000? Now, and remember, you could take out more than this. You could take out 15%. You could take out 20%. And again, this goes to the point that I was talking about earlier. Depends on your age. Everyone here is different age brackets. Maybe someone like you at that point, you're 20 years in, you're like, you know what? I'm okay with winding it down a little bit. I still want to keep reinvesting it. I don't want to burn the snowball entirely, because I want my family members to still reap the benefits. But I'm going to take 20%. But I mean, really, ask yourself, what could you do with $14,000 a month coming in? Like, is that enough for you to live your comfortable life?
Oh yeah.
Are you free from going to your boss and having to work? Maybe you want to pursue your hobby, and maybe your hobby makes you money, but you're not doing it for the purpose of making money. You're doing it just for the simple joy of it, because you have the cash component is taken care of.
And in this projection, I actually did something fun where at this point, after 20 years, right, because I wanted to compare apples to apples, I'm going to stop putting in the $2,000 cash flow.
Blasphemy.
Right? And take it one step further. I'm going to say I'm sick and tired of doing this. I am going to just quit the whole thing. What happens, right? If I just don't even reinvest the money I'm just gonna take that money and I'm gonna stop contributing that the $2,000 a month. I just start taking out every month. I'm still getting $170,000 the next month. I'm still getting $170,000 the next month, right? Of course, it's going to start to dwindle
as they fall off, because they're only 3-year notes.
Right. So, but over the next 3 years, every month, I still get passive income until the very last month, right? I still get one final check from the system for $28,000. That's without any of my input anymore.
Right. So you're talking about in 4 years, you're having to spend off all of that money that you're getting.
I did a summary on the end of how much that total is. If you calculate on the other side.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah. So in 20 years, what have you accomplished, right? You contributed $480,000, just like your neighbor, right? So equal on that one. The passive income we look at year 10 was $36,000, $378 per month. The passive income at year 20 was $144,404 a month. So those are the two major benchmarks. Now the total amount of money that was put into the stacks, all the investments, was $12.8 million. That was not my money. It was $12.8 million of other people's money. So if you were to add up stack 1, 10,000, stack 2, 10,000, all the way across, it was $12.8 million. And then passive income that continues, we just talked about for the next 36 months. If I wanted to stop everything, at the very last month, I still get $28,000, right? 3 years later. And then the total cash that returned back in that 36 months after I stopped the whole entire program was a whopping $2.8 million. All right, so think about this.
Yeah.
The other guy, my neighbor, who saved $2,000, invested in S&P 500, ended up with $1.8 million. Here, I invested differently. I got to enjoy my life along the way, and I still have $2.8 million in reserve. And if I'm lazy at this point and don't want to do anything, I'll just put this 2.8 into the S&P 500
and just take the Monte Carlo off of it.
Take the Monte Carlo off of it, and I'll actually still be
better off
enjoying my life more than my neighbor who's saved 20 years.
You'll be making over $10,000.
That's right.
Indefinitely.
That's right.
Indefinitely.
Right. And my line of credit is paid off.
Yeah.
Whatever I borrow, if I borrow for my cash value, I still have that money there for my cash value policy. But if I just borrow from a line of credit, you don't get that benefit. That's, you paid off. You don't owe anybody anymore on that one, right? So that's the added benefit of those of us who are in the IBC world.
I mean, so don't minimize that. Don't minimize that, because if you're talking about recapturing all of this money, now 20 years, if you know anything about the infinite banking concept, you'll know that if it's done correctly, structured correctly, after 4 to 5 years, it's capitalized. By 20 years, man, that's an ATM machine. So simultaneously, you could run all of the money through your policies, however many you have at this point, and for every dollar you're putting in, you're probably getting 3-4 times back. Yeah. That's in addition to this $144K that you're getting a month. And that's assuming you stop at year 20. Why would you stop at year 20?
Right.
And this is not even also factoring, you can't control this, but there's the element of risk involved in the accumulation model, right? We talked about if it drops by 10%, by 20%. Well, what happens if your 17th stack only goes for 32 months instead of 36? Is it going to hinder it? Sure, but is it going to hinder it to the level of what the accumulation model will? No, it won't. Because it's only taking a little step back as opposed to taking a huge step back on the accumulation models. Because you're diversifying your risk, because you're playing around with $12.8 million across a bunch of stacks, you're diversifying your risk.
Yeah.
And again,
every payment that you receive from this system is your return of principal that comes back. So every payment that you do get, your risk or your exposure is reduced. So that's the brilliance of it.
That's cool. I mean, it's cool. I mean, this whole entire day's been, it's dense. Intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot, but
It's a lot, but
I like to show visuals because as a teacher, it's pictures is worth 1,000 words. I get people who love spreadsheets. I get that, but honestly, for me, I need to see a picture to see what's really going on behind the scenes, right? So I converted everything that I've shown here into a graph. I don't know how to pinch it here. Okay, is that pretty okay?
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
So what we're seeing here is a graphical representation of the stacking for the next 20 years, right? For the 20 years that we did. If you see on the bottom, that line that's flat, that's the cash flow contribution into the system. That never spiked up, right? That's one fixed variable in this situation. And then the green line, that is your total income. That includes your $2,000, right? All the way up until the end of the 20 years. And you see how that compounding curve works, right? In the beginning, first 3 years, you might not really feel like you're doing much, right? But if you remember that example of the penny doubled every day example, for the first, I think, 15 days of the example, if you could just Google it, you could see the whole graph. It's not that exciting. But then once you hit that curve of, I don't know what that
acceleration
point,
Yep.
that's when everything just compounds. And it's bigger than anything that you can even imagine, because that's the volume. And we talk about the volume of money that's put to work. I don't have to chase after high return stuff because I have more money out there at work than the neighbor who's trying to chase the higher return stuff because they don't have the volume. Yeah.
No, it's mind-blowing because I remember last time we hung out. So these guys have done it in not 20 years. You guys have done it
not yet.
in a couple of years, which is mind-blowing. And so, like, for me, I remember it was, he said to me, because I'm doing it, but I was doing a portion of my income. And he said, man, either you're all in or you're not. And I was like, thought about it for a second. He's like, do you have an IRA? I was like, yeah, I got an IRA. He's like, what else you got? I was like, I got an IRA for my kids, which is like, I think I'm doing the right thing, but I'm like looking at like, this is 2021 or something at the time, like, think of that. It's like, yeah, what am I doing? I'm contributing that, this, that. I'm like, I just need to look at all my cash flow and just go, yeah, that's gone. And, I buy a bar of silver every month, it's $167, but I like seeing it. So like that was like one thing I kept.
Tangible.
I like stacking it and like looking at it. Now just told everybody I got a bar of silver.
What's your address?
Yeah, right. So, but like it's like okay, and then you look and you're like, holy crap! I just opened up a whole bunch of access to capital, and it changed everything. Because 20 years is great, but I'd rather do it in 5 to 10.
Yeah, that's the point that I want to get to. Is if you understand the mechanics, right? And now we're going to I'm going to find the point where we're doing 50K flips. We're at stack 18. So that is going to be at
year 5.
No. Yeah, sorry, year 5. Year 5, you're right. Year 5. So imagine if, in your case, you had $2,000 of cash flow, but you had all of these other avenues where your money was bleeding out to. Oh, I'm paying this IRA, this 401k, this 501, this, all these different things. And when you channel it all in, you realize, wow, I actually have almost $10,000 a month of cash flow, cleaned up really. So I'm going to start here. Well, now you've brought everything up by 5 years.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you might think, well, then I'm going to be there in 15 years. No. Because of the power of compounding, you're starting so much later on that curve, it's going to bring everything in even faster.
Yeah.
Faster than that. And it's and as I mentioned earlier, when at the 50K mark, you can do your own, you don't have to go into Networthy at this point. You can study Paperstac notes, because the higher your rate of return on the investment, right? Networthy will do 12% over 36 months. If you can eke out 14% over 36 months, that changes the variables.
Yeah.
Now, there's a time component too. You have to really understand what is your time worth. If it's going to take you 10 hours a month to find, or 10 hours every few months to find that perfect note. But in 10 hours, your time is worth $100 an hour. You can make a quick $1,000. Maybe you're better off going into the fund. That's what we built it for. We have friends and family members, doctors, high income earners who their dollar per hour is worth a lot more than mine was, for example. So I think for them, there's the options are there, is the point that I'm getting at.
No, you're right. I mean, that's why I put money with you guys. I know that you guys are going to go to Paperstac, and so it's like.
It's a win-win situation, right? We source the notes from you guys, and you guys have an awesome platform that does all the closing, everything, paperwork, and all that for us. So that's a huge plus. And then we get to pool people's money together, right? Because some people only have $5,000, right? They don't have $50,000 to start. So we're trying to just bring everybody along this process. And I always encourage people, do the academy. I did. Learn this. It's a skill.
It's a skill.
Once it's learned, once you know it, nobody can take that away from you, right? You can, Networthy can close our doors, and you will be okay because you learned the skills, right? We are like your training wheels for Paperstac.
Another thing that, because a lot of times it seems that when you're understanding your leftover cash flows, you're always looking. I don't know why, but you fall in these buckets of I got $2,000. Really, you probably have $2,300.35. You always round to $2,000 because it's easy math.
Sure.
So when I was doing with buying notes and stuff like that, I'm like, well, that one's $9,800. And I would judge a lot of things based off that because I'm trying to make a $10,000 investment or something. So I'm like, I was looking like backwards where I was like, I'm looking for the $10,000 investment, but I'm like, well, that one's $13,000. So it was sometimes it can be, if you're more structured now, like for me, it's like, okay, here's $10,000. I don't have to look at the exact note. Before it's like I'm looking for the note exactly at where kind of it's in this. The purchase amounts were never a flat thing. I never bought a note for $10,000. It was like 13,500. Something. And so then I have to think, I need to get this recorded. What county is this in? What's the servicing? How's that built in? Because that affects my cash flow. Because if it's servicing's $15 a month, and then next year, it's a new year, we're somehow going up to 25 just because it's a new year. It's like, well, you just affected my cash flow.
Sure.
Not saying that there's a lot of value in definitely owning the note, but for me, with just being as busy and many things going on, it's just like, look, if I give you this, I know exactly what I'm going to get. I'm going to get $332 per 10,000.
You got that memorized.
That's I know the math. So it's like, okay, if I give you 10 or 20, then I get this. It's like it's like that for me makes it a lot simpler because it's just that way, especially too when I'm looking at building out projections and what I'm building an Airtable. I can see it updates. I'm like, if I just do this now, I'm going to be over the $3,000 limit. Right. Now it's $3,000, and then.
And you have money with other companies that do the amortized things, and for example, like with Prosper. And I when I first started, I also invested in some peer-to-peer lending stuff. It's great. It does pay amortized, but it's just harder to do projections.
It's so variable.
I don't like. I mean, sometimes have a good month and it's like, $350 this month. Next month it's like you look and like I'm gonna make a 6% return. I was at 12.83 last month. Like it's just like what the hell? Or something paid off and it's like, okay, well that's great. I guess I got $25 back. Because you're just like, but that's not the goal. Wasn't that? These things are paying off and and the thing with Prosper I don't like is I have a time frame where it's like you need to get this money out of here before we auto reinvest it. I think you can turn it off, but like if otherwise there's just dead money sitting there if you don't remember to pool every month. Like you got to go in there and transfer over, and it's just one more things I have to deal with. So I mean, I did it, and I had a Prosper bot that was like looking at every Wednesday when the things drop. Because every Wednesday the new notes come out, and you can go get A pluses and stuff. And I was like, this is cool. And then I was like, after a while I was like, well, I don't really know how much money I made last month, so I don't know how much I paid down per my cash flow. Was it $350? And then I have to go into look. And it's a cool thing for buying. If you want reporting, it's not the best.
Sure.
It's not. It's not a great reporting site. The dashboard is like one graph, and you're like, this doesn't tell me everything I need to know. Which it does. If that's what you want, that's what you want. But also, it's unsecured debt. I have stuff that defaults. It's like Oh well, there goes that. You know,
Sure.
so it's like you have no recourse. It's not like a note.
Sure.
You know, so.
Well, that's another thing that
people, if they invest in YouTube, if they wanted to get their money back after the 36 months, they get the money back, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, wow, I put it in here, I made this much, and now I give it $10,000 back.
Yeah.
Ideally, you wouldn't do that. You just
Sure.
keep it going.
Sure.
But you could.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we're also fairly picky on what we buy from you guys. You guys have a lot more stuff than we can
Sure.
ever possibly buy, but we, because of the fact that we have to be responsible for these
Oh, gotcha.
payments, so we pick up first position stuff, we pick up things that are seasoned, so we have our buy criteria. Our business partner Dan, he's amazing.
Buying notes right now for us.
That's right,
He's
exactly.
sitting right here.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. He's kind of like the extraordinaire when it comes to pick up good notes for us. So we're really grateful for that piece of the business, running on a kind of like automation for us.
Good. Yeah, 'cause he knows the note space. Because
he studied it.
Yeah, he creates notes, he gets it. Yeah, so.
And if you want, I mean, in the Networthy community, we actually did a monthly update for our fund where Dan actually broke down how he analyzes for Networthy a Paperstac note. Okay, why is this going to work for us? How can we do this? How can we plug it in? So you can ultimately learn it as well yourself if you want to get an idea of kind of what we look for. By all means, the education, whether it's through Paperstac, whether it's through Networthy, whoever your method of coaching is, the education is there if you are seeking it out. We just want to come from a point of, hey, if you're just getting started or you know yourself and you don't want to learn it, you love the method, or you're learning the method and you want to get started, that's what we are here for. And ultimately, if you want more education, Pei and I, we do the Finding Financial Fitness podcast, and we have a YouTube channel where you can find, we did a breakdown of this specific Excel sheet, just like we talked about right now, in greater detail, but we also go through velocity banking step by step. If you're getting started, a little bit more advanced, tying that in with IBC. We've had Brett on the show a couple of times. So
yeah, the Networthy is basically, in terms of looking at it coming from a hose, it's the mister. You get in nice and easily with one form. If you just want to hang out with them, get ready for the fire hose. The hose is coming out, and it'll leave your brain overworked. There's
in a good way.
In a very good way. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I will say that I've attended a lot of the stuff in the groups, and I've learned a lot of stuff over the years, and I've gotten the most value out of this group right here. You guys are smart. You're smart, and they're very actionable. And then I love when I can have my business partners sit in, because I try to tell them all about it, and they're like, don't know. They just don't know if they're kind of catching it. And then I let you guys just let them go for like 30 minutes. And Rick, I think, is probably taking a nap by now. His mind is toast. But well, cool then. So
we hope this was helpful.
Yeah, it's always very helpful.
Yeah.
And our community is primarily about education. You don't have to invest a penny with us to learn, right? This is just an idea. This is just a concept. You learn it. You want to learn it. We can share, what we know, and it's up to each individual to go and get started and start small. If you want to just dip your toe into this income stacking strategy or whatnot, but our community is free. It's just a community.
No,
we just kind of help each other out and learn it.
Yeah, no, I like it. Well, cool. Where Networthy.us, right?
Yes. Schedule a call with us. Have a chat. Pei will be the one that you'll get on her calendar. She'll speak with you, see if it's a good fit, the community for you, and learn more. And we'll go from there. But as we mentioned, education stuff, Finding Financial Fitness, and then Paperstac as well. So.
Cool. Yeah. Great. Well, thanks so much again for coming down to Orlando and hang out with us. We will be having more episodes. We've been big in doing some more enterprise stuff, so Rick's been pretty swamped. I can't handle doing a podcast by myself. I need him to bounce the questions off of. So we appreciate you watching this episode, and we hope to see you on the next one.
Take care, guys.
See ya.
Bye.